I was standing beside my sister holding her bouquet when I heard it. "Good thing I married the sister who takes care of herself." He said it with a smirk, just loud enough for his friends to laugh. I froze, the smile on my face still painted for the photos, my fingers tightening around the flowers until the stems bent. The music swelled, the camera flashed, and I stood there, decorative, disposable, the funny one, the sweet one, the one who never got it quite right. My sister laughed at something the photographer said, her skin glowing under the lights, perfect in every possible way. I wondered if she heard him. I wondered if she cared. I felt my throat close, that familiar lump of shame rising, thick and bitter. I swallowed it like I had all my life. After the party, I cried in the bathroom until my mascara turned into bruises. That night, I promised myself something. If being small, quiet, and good hadn't earned me love, then maybe taking up space finally would. They thought I'd fade away after that wedding, but I didn't. I became everything they said I couldn't. And if you've ever been laughed at for how you look, this channel is for you. Subscribe and turn on the bell. Here we tell stories that deserve to be heard. When I was little, I learned that love had a shape, and mine didn't fit. My sister was the golden one. Bright hair, straight posture, laughter that made people turn their heads. I was the shadow beside her, softer around the edges, quieter, the kind of child who stayed out of the way. At family dinners, my parents would tell her, "You've always been so disciplined," while patting my head as if to say, "You try." I laughed with them because what else could I do? Every compliment she got was a reminder of what I wasn't. I didn't have words for the envy I felt or the shame that came with it. I just knew that when my mother's voice got sharp or my father's sigh got heavy, the only thing that made it stop, at least inside me, was food. Cookies after school, bread rolls at night, cake at birthdays even when I wasn't celebrating anything. The kitchen became my hiding place. The fridge light felt warmer than the sun. My sister would leave for parties and dates. I would stay home watching TV with a bowl in my lap, pretending I didn't care. But I did. Every bite was both a comfort and a punishment. I told myself I was fine, that I liked being the funny sister, the one who didn't need to compete. But the truth is, I was competing every single day, just not in a race anyone else could see. My sister ran marathons. I ran out of ways to pretend I wasn't jealous. As I got older, the gap between us grew wider. She got married early, of course. Her wedding photos were everywhere. Her in white lace, me behind her, smiling like I wasn't breaking. After that, I decided I wouldn't let anyone see how much it hurt. I became the helper, the listener, the one who carried everyone else's happiness. I worked, I cooked, I cleaned, and every time someone praised her, I clapped too. That's what good sisters do, right? They applaud the ones who were chosen. My body changed slowly, like grief accumulating over the years. Every diet was a promise. Every failure, a familiar disappointment. People said I had a pretty face, as if my beauty stopped at my neck. I learned to live with it, to make jokes before anyone else could. I know I'm not built for bikinis, I'd say with a laugh that burned. But inside, I just wanted to be seen without comparison. I wanted to walk into a room and not feel like someone's second place. Food became my applause, my celebration, my punishment, my secret. And even when I tried to stop, it was like stopping myself from breathing. My sister would say, "You'd be so beautiful if you just tried a little harder." I wanted to scream that trying was all I'd ever done, but instead, I smiled. I always smiled. I became the family's invisible glue, holding everyone together while I quietly came undone. Then came the day of her wedding, the one that changed everything. I thought I was over it, that I could stand beside her without that ache in my chest. I wore a dress I didn't love, but that flattered my shape, as she said. And when I heard those words from her husband, Good thing I married the sister who takes care of herself. Something inside me snapped, not in anger, but in recognition. For the first time, I saw my life for what it was, a long audition for approval I was never going to get. That night, I promised myself it would be the last time I cried over someone else's idea of beauty. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't live in your body, but in your bones, the kind that makes even breathing feel like work. That's what I carried with me after the wedding. It wasn't anger, it was something heavier, quieter. I'd wake up already tired, drag myself through the day like I was walking underwater. People said I looked fine. They always do. "You're strong," they'd tell me, as if strength was just another way of saying, "We won't ask what's wrong." My office became a second home, not because I loved my job, but because it kept me from going back to the silence of my apartment. I'd eat lunch at my desk, staring at spreadsheets that meant nothing. Sometimes I'd open a browser and end up scrolling through my sister's social media. Her life was a slideshow of perfection. Brunches, vacations, gym selfies, smiles that seemed effortless. She'd tag her husband in every post. He'd comment with little fire emojis or hearts, and my stomach would tighten like a fist. I told myself I didn't care, but I still checked every single day. Comparison had become muscle memory. At night, I'd come home to a kitchen that smelled of old takeout and loneliness. I'd open the fridge and stand there in the cold light, not hungry but hollow. Food was the one thing that didn't judge me. It didn't ask me to be better or prettier or less emotional. It just waited. The first bite was always relief. The second was guilt. But the guilt felt familiar, almost comforting. I'd eat standing up, fork in hand, tears drying before they could fall. Sometimes I'd promised myself that tomorrow I'd start over. I said that every day. The mirror became my enemy. I avoided it as much as I could, but it found me anyway, in the reflection of a window, the glare of a black screen, the accidental glance when I passed a store. I'd catch my own eyes and feel a wave of shame so deep it made me dizzy. Not just for my body, but for my whole life. I wasn't living. I was waiting. Waiting to be chosen. Waiting to be loved. Waiting for something to happen that never would. I started canceling plans with friends. I blamed work, headaches, exhaustion. The truth was simpler. I couldn't stand being around people who still had light in their eyes. My world had shrunk to the size of my apartment and my phone screen. Even my laughter sounded different. It used to fill rooms. Now it just echoed back at me. My mother called once and said, "You should visit. Your sister's hosting a family dinner next week." I said I was busy. She sighed. "You always say that." I wanted to tell her that I couldn't sit at that table and pretend I didn't notice the looks, the comparisons, the tiny, invisible ways they measured us against each other. I wanted to tell her that I was tired of losing a competition I never signed up for. Instead, I said, "Maybe next time." After we hung up, I cried until my chest ached. There's a special kind of grief that comes from realizing no one ever really saw you. Not the real you, the one under the polite smiles and perfect timing. That night, I opened the drawer where I kept the wedding photos. I don't even know why I looked at them again. Maybe I wanted to confirm that it had really happened, that those words weren't a nightmare. There I was, in the pictures, standing next to her in a dress that didn't fit right, smiling like I wasn't bleeding inside. The photographer had caught the exact moment I turned toward the sound of laughter, his laughter. My stomach dropped. I couldn't look away. That photo became a mirror of everything I'd tried to ignore, the way my shoulders slumped slightly, how I always leaned away from the center. I wasn't just outside the frame, I was outside my own life. The next day, I couldn't get out of bed. I called in sick and stayed under the covers until the sun disappeared. I didn't eat, I didn't move. I just stared at the ceiling and thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is who I'll be forever. A ghost in her sister's story. a supporting character who never gets her own plot. The thought scared me more than anything. I realized that disappearing wouldn't hurt anyone but me, and they probably wouldn't even notice. That's when something shifted. It wasn't hope. Hope felt too far away. It was more like a whisper, small and stubborn. What if you stopped waiting? I didn't answer it right away, but it stayed with me. I carried that question through the next few days, through every meaningless meeting, every empty night. It followed me into the bathroom mirror, where I finally looked at myself, not to criticize, but to see. My eyes were red, my face puffy, my body soft and round, but there was still something alive behind all that pain. I hadn't lost everything. I still had me. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start over. That night, I tore the photo from the wedding album and burned it in the sink. I watched the paper curl and darken, the faces disappearing into ash. For the first time in years, I didn't cry. I just watched the smoke rise and thought, if no one claps for me, I'll learn to clap for myself. The morning after I burned that photo, the air in my apartment felt different. It wasn't lighter exactly, just sharper, clearer, like the smoke had carried something away with it. I stood in the bathroom, barefoot, staring at the mirror. My eyes were swollen, my hair tangled, my body heavy under an oversized t-shirt. But for the first time, I didn't look away. I just stared, quietly, until I saw the truth. I wasn't disgusting. I wasn't broken. I was just tired of being small in a world that only clapped for my sister. I whispered to my reflection, I'm done. It wasn't dramatic. No tears, no music, just 2 words that felt like a door unlocking somewhere deep inside me. I didn't know where to start, so I started small. I opened my window. I let the cold morning air hit my face. It felt like the first breath after drowning. I brewed coffee and sat at the table without my phone, without distractions. I wrote a list, not of goals or diets or things to fix, but of everything I was done tolerating. Being compared, saying yes when I want to say no, laughing when I want to scream, waiting to be chosen. The list was longer than I expected. When I finished, I felt strangely calm. That day, I decided I would do one thing differently, no matter how small. I walked after work instead of taking the bus, just a few blocks. The first steps were awkward. I felt my body moving like it belonged to someone else. People passed me, and I tried not to shrink. The wind was cold against my face, and my heart beat fast, not from fear, but from something that felt suspiciously like freedom. That night, I slept without nightmares for the first time in months. The next morning, I walked again. Then again. I wasn't chasing weight loss. I was chasing movement, proof that I was still alive. Each day, I added a few more steps. I started listening to music while I walked, songs I used to love before everything got quiet. I even sang softly under my breath. At first, it felt silly, but it made me smile. And that smile, mine, not forced, was something I hadn't seen in years. My coworkers noticed before I did. "You look different," one said, frowning as if trying to find the change. "Just tired of staying the same," I answered. At home, I started cooking again. Not for comfort, but for care. I replaced takeout boxes with pans and herbs. I burned half of what I made, but I didn't stop. The act of chopping, stirring, tasting, it grounded me. I realized I had spent years feeding everyone but myself. Now, every meal felt like a quiet apology to my body. It forgave me faster than I forgave myself. I unfollowed my sister on social media, not out of anger, but to make space for silence that belonged to me. For a while, it was strange not knowing what she was doing. Then it became peaceful. I filled that space with music, books, walks, and words. I began journaling again, but differently this time. Not about what I wanted to lose, but what I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel strong. Not admired, not envied, just strong. A month later, I joined a gym. I walked in shaking, afraid everyone would stare. No one did. They were too busy fighting their own battles. I started small. 10 minutes on a treadmill, light weights, stretches. The mirror in front of me was harsh, but I didn't look away. I met my own eyes and thought, we're not enemies anymore. The soreness came, but it felt like proof that I was building something new. Every drop of sweat was a wordless rebellion against every insult I had swallowed. Good thing I married the sister who takes care of herself. The words replayed sometimes, but they no longer burned. They fueled me. They became my soundtrack, the reminder of why I'd never go back. One evening, I saw my reflection in the gym window. My hair was messy, my cheeks flushed, my shirt soaked in sweat. But my posture, God, my posture. I was standing tall, shoulders back, like someone who had finally taken up her own space. I smiled, breathless and alive. That was the night I realized something simple but sacred. Healing doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just breathes, steady and stubborn, inside the body that refused to give up. I never thought starting over would feel so quiet. No big breakthroughs, no dramatic soundtrack. Just the sound of my own footsteps at 6 a.m, sneakers hitting the pavement, breath fogging in the cold. At first, I walked because I didn't know what else to do. Then walking became running. Not fast, not graceful, but mine. Every morning, I'd see the same streetlights fade into sunrise, and with them, a version of me that had spent her whole life apologizing. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I wanted it to be mine. My sister would still post photos of her perfect breakfasts, her perfect husband, her perfect body. But now I scrolled past them without that familiar stab in my chest. I wasn't competing anymore. I was creating. My body began to change, slowly, like something blooming after a long winter. My clothes fit differently. My face softened in the mirror. Not thinner, but calmer. I still had curves, still had stretch marks, still had history written all over my skin. But now, when I looked at myself, I didn't see failure. I saw evidence. I saw proof that I had survived every version of me that wanted to disappear. I started cooking real meals, colorful, intentional, nourishing. I ate sitting down, not hiding, not punishing. For the first time, food didn't feel like the enemy. It felt like fuel. On weekends, I took long walks to a cafe across town. The barista started recognizing me. "The usual?" she'd ask, and I'd nod. It felt small but important, to be recognized for something that wasn't my pain. One morning, I caught my reflection in the cafe window. Hair messy from the wind, cheeks flushed, eyes awake. I looked like someone living instead of surviving. That day I bought a notebook and wrote on the first page, "This time it's for me." I didn't know what it was yet, but I knew it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about freedom. I kept showing up, to the gym, to the early walks, to my life. There were bad days, of course, days when I skipped workouts, when old habits whispered my name. But I learned that falling isn't failure. It's repetition. I'd fall, then get up, then fall again. But each time, I fell a little closer to who I wanted to be. Months passed. People started noticing. "You look incredible," they'd say, but what they really meant was, "You look smaller." I'd smile, but inside, I wanted to say, "I'm not smaller. I'm finally here." Because it wasn't the size of my body that changed. It was the space I allowed myself to take. I began sharing small pieces of my journey online, not the filtered kind, not the before and afters, just honesty. Posts about walking when you'd rather hide, about forgiving the reflection in the mirror. The messages came quickly. Women wrote things like, "I thought I was the only one," or "I haven't taken a picture of myself in years." I answered every single one. I didn't have advice, just presence. Sometimes that's all we need, to know we're not invisible. Around that time, my sister called. Her voice sounded different, tired. "You've been quiet," she said. "Are you okay?" I told her I was better than okay. She didn't know what to say. We talked for a few minutes. Weather, work, nothing important, but I could feel it. The balance between us had shifted. For once, she was the one unsure of her footing. I didn't enjoy it. I just noticed it. After we hung up, I realized I no longer needed her approval. The weight I'd been losing wasn't just physical. It was the constant need to be validated by someone else's eyes. A few weeks later, I saw her husband at the grocery store. He looked older, heavier, distracted. He didn't notice me at first. Then he did. His eyes widened slightly, the kind of double take people try to hide. "Wow," he said finally. "You look different." I smiled, polite and distant. "So do you," I said, and walked away. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. That was the real revenge, peace. That night I went home, cooked dinner, and lit a candle at the table. I ate slowly, savoring every bite, every quiet victory that no one else would ever see. When I finished, I looked around my apartment, the same walls, same furniture, but everything felt new. I realized that for the first time in my life, I wasn't living in comparison. I was living in color. It started with a message, just one. A woman named Claire wrote to me after reading one of my posts. She said she had spent years hiding behind her children, her job, her busy schedule, everything but herself. "You make it sound possible," she wrote. "Like maybe I could find my way back too." I stared at her words for a long time before replying. I didn't have some perfect answer. I just wrote, "You already have. You reached out." After that, more messages came. Some long, some only a sentence or two, but they all carried the same ache, the exhaustion of women who had been everything for everyone. I started realizing that what I thought was loneliness was actually an invisible crowd. We were all walking the same quiet roads, carrying the same heavy bags of guilt and duty. I wasn't the only one who had been told to shrink, to behave, to stay in line. I wasn't the only one who had been clapped for only when I disappeared. The realization broke something open in me. I started replying to every message, sometimes at midnight, sometimes at dawn, until my phone felt like a lifeline connecting one survivor to another. One day, Claire sent me a picture of herself walking outside for the first time in months. "It's not much," she wrote, "but I thought of you." I cried looking at it. Because that's how it happens. Change doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through strangers who decide to take one more step. I began sharing more. Not about my weight, but about the spaces between it all. The mornings I woke up without crying, the afternoons I danced in my kitchen, the nights I forgave myself for the years I spent begging for love. People started calling my little online journal the Mirror Project. I didn't plan it, but it felt right. Because all I had ever wanted was to see someone like me, to prove that we existed beyond the frames of before and after. Soon, women from all over began tagging me in their photos, walking, cooking, smiling without filters. They called themselves mirror women, and it felt like belonging, something I hadn't felt in years. One of them messaged me, "You helped me go back to the gym after being humiliated there once." I told her the truth. "You did that yourself. I just stood beside you in spirit." My apartment, once silent and small, now buzzed with the quiet hum of purpose. I'd wake up early to write before work, coffee steaming beside my laptop. The words poured out of me. Not perfect, not polished, but raw and real. I wasn't trying to inspire anyone. I was just telling the truth. And somehow, that was enough. My sister called again one evening. Her voice sounded different this time, soft, uncertain. "I've been reading your posts," she said. I froze. "They're beautiful," she added, almost shyly. "I didn't know you could write like that." For a second, I didn't know how to respond. The part of me that used to crave her approval stirred, but this time, it didn't hurt. "Thank you," I said simply. "How are you?" There was a pause. "I've been better," she confessed. "Marriage isn't always what people think." I wanted to say, "I know," but instead I listened. She talked for a long time. I didn't interrupt. When she finished, she whispered, "You sound happy." I smiled to myself. "I'm peaceful," I said. "There's a difference." After we hung up, I sat by the window and watched the city lights flicker. It struck me how strange it was. The same woman who once broke under her sister's shadow was now becoming her light. Not in competition, but in balance. For years, I had chased validation. Now it was finding me in ways I never expected. One Sunday, I was invited to speak at a small community center. They wanted me to talk about body image and self-worth. The idea terrified me. I almost said no, but then I thought of Claire, of all the women who had written to me from behind closed doors. I said yes. When I stood in front of that room, my hands trembled. But then I saw their faces, real, tired, hopeful, and the fear melted away. I told them my story, not as a hero, but as someone who once believed she wasn't worth saving. When I finished, there was silence. Then, one by one, they began to clap. It wasn't loud or frantic. It was gentle, like rain on glass. I'll never forget that sound. It felt like every time I had clapped for someone else's happiness, the universe was finally clapping back for mine. That night, I walked home under the moonlight, my steps steady, my chest light. I realized the echo of other voices wasn't just about being heard. It was about harmony. My story had found its chorus, and together, we were singing ourselves back to life. I used to dream about the day I'd finally get to say everything I'd held back. The perfect speech, the sharp truth, the look of shock on their faces when they realized what they'd done. I thought healing would look like confrontation. But when the moment finally came, it didn't feel like that at all. It happened one Sunday morning in early spring. I was coming out of a cafe, the same one where I wrote half my stories, when I saw them, my sister and her husband, walking hand in hand. I froze for a second. The universe has a strange sense of timing. They hadn't seen me yet. My heart pounded, but not from fear. It was something else. Recognition, maybe. The version of me that used to ache for their approval stirred faintly, like a ghost realizing she no longer belonged here. They noticed me then. My sister smiled, surprised. Her husband's face flickered, something between disbelief and discomfort. "Wow," she said, eyes wide. "You look incredible." I smiled. "I feel incredible," I answered. It wasn't arrogance, it was truth. For a few moments, none of us spoke. The silence was thick with memories, the laughter that excluded me, the quiet comparisons, the cruel words I pretended not to hear. My brother-in-law shifted awkwardly, as if waiting for me to bring it up. The wedding, the humiliation, the line that had haunted me for years. I thought I would. I thought I'd throw it back at them, watch it land like justice. But the words never came. I didn't need them anymore. I realized they were still stuck in the same story, while I had already written a new one. My sister reached out to hug me. Her perfume was the same. Sweet, familiar, a little too much. When she pulled back, her eyes looked tired. "It's been so long," she said softly. "You've changed." I nodded. I had to. She hesitated. "I wish we'd been closer," she said. "We could have helped each other." I didn't correct her. Maybe we could have once. But back then, I was too busy disappearing. I smiled instead. "We're both here now," I said. She smiled back, but I could see the crack in her perfect armor. The flawless marriage, the curated happiness, it was slipping. Maybe she saw it too, because she squeezed my hand before letting go. Her husband cleared his throat. "It's good to see you," he said. His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. I nodded politely. "You too." Then I turned and walked away. No dramatic music, no slow-motion revenge. Just peace. As I walked down the street, I realized that the scene I had imagined for so long, the apology, the recognition, the tears, it didn't need to happen. The closure I wanted didn't live in their mouths. It lived in my steps. I went back to the cafe and ordered another coffee. The barista smiled. "Back again?" I laughed. "Yeah, it's my place." I sat by the window, watching people come and go. For the first time, I saw life moving without needing to chase it. That night, I wrote in my journal, "The story I wanted from them never came, but the story I gave myself was better." I thought about all the women who had written to me, all the versions of myself I'd shed like old skin. I wasn't the girl at the wedding anymore. I wasn't the one standing in the corner, trying to make herself small. I was the woman in the cafe, full of warmth, purpose, and quiet power. And maybe the greatest justice of all was this: living a life so full that the people who once broke you couldn't recognize the pieces. A few weeks later, my sister sent me a message. Just a simple text. "I read your latest post. I think I finally understand." I stared at the screen, tears welling up. Not because I needed her understanding, but because it had arrived anyway. I typed back, "I'm glad. Take care of yourself." I put down my phone, stepped onto the balcony, and let the evening breeze touch my face. Below me, the city pulsed with life. People hurrying, laughing, surviving. Somewhere in that noise, I found stillness. The scene I thought would define me never came. And yet somehow, that was the point. Healing isn't about the apology you never get. It's about learning to live so loudly that you no longer need one. There was a time when I thought my body was the enemy. I blamed it for every lost chance, every cruel comment, every mirror that refused to be kind. I punished it with hunger, drowned it with food, and silenced its cries with shame. But now, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is thank it for never giving up on me, even when I tried to give up on it. The body I once wanted to disappear carried me through every heartbreak, every insult, every lonely night where I whispered, "I can't do this anymore." And yet, here I am, still standing, still breathing, still here. People ask me how I changed, as if there was a secret, a shortcut, a magic switch. I tell them the truth. It wasn't the weight I lost. It was the weight I stopped carrying. The guilt, the comparisons, the constant need to be smaller just to be loved. My body didn't betray me. It protected me. Every pound, every curve, every scar was a story of survival written in flesh. When I finally stopped fighting it, I realized it had been fighting for me all along. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't search for flaws. I search for proof. Proof that I lived. Proof that I endured. Proof that I finally chose myself. My reflection is no longer an apology. It's a declaration. This body, this face, these hands, they built the life I used to dream of. They carried groceries, held tears, wrote words that reached strangers across oceans. They turned pain into purpose. Some mornings, I still see her, the old me. The girl standing in the corner at her sister's wedding, smiling through humiliation, heartbreaking quietly. I don't hate her anymore. I tell her, you did your best. She doesn't vanish. She softens. I owe her everything. She walked through the fire so I could stand in the light. My sister and I talk sometimes now. Not every day, not about everything, but enough. The distance between us feels human, not hostile. I've stopped waiting for her approval. I've learned that love without boundaries isn't love, it's erasure. Now my boundaries are my peace, and my peace is sacred. I don't crave applause anymore. I crave mornings like this. Quiet, golden, filled with the smell of coffee and the hum of life continuing. I walk to the window, sunlight touching my face, and think about how many years I spent trying to be worthy of existing. I used to believe healing was about becoming someone new. But maybe it's about remembering who you were before the world told you to be smaller. The woman I am now doesn't flinch at her reflection. She doesn't wait for permission to take up space. She laughs louder, eats slower, forgives quicker. She still has fears, but she doesn't let them drive. And when she looks back, she doesn't see failure. She sees chapters, some dark, some tender, all necessary. My body has changed, yes. It's stronger now, more grounded, more alive. But the real transformation happened in the silence between heartbeats. The moment I realized I didn't need to become beautiful to be worthy, I just needed to be. Sometimes when I walk past strangers on the street, I catch their eyes and see a flicker of something familiar. Maybe they see the same tired hope I once carried. I smile, not out of pride, but out of recognition. We are all walking each other home. To the women who read my story, who write to me, who whisper, "Thank you," I whisper back, "Thank you for listening." Because healing doesn't happen alone. It echoes through the lives it touches. The girl who once measured her worth in pounds and apologies now measures it in peace and purpose. I don't weigh myself anymore. I don't count calories or scars. I count mornings like this one, the kind where I breathe deeply, stretch my arms, and feel the sun warming a body that once believed it wasn't enough. This is the body that saved me, the one that carried me out of silence, through fire, into life. And if you're listening, if you've ever looked at your reflection and felt like you were too much or not enough, this is for you. Your body isn't your punishment. It's your witness. It's your map home. So breathe. Take up space. Be seen. Be loud. Be you. You were never meant to disappear. If this story found you, even just for a moment, it means you were ready to hear it. Subscribe and turn on the bell. Because here, we tell stories that deserve to be heard. And write in the comments where you're watching from. I want to know how far these echoes reach.